الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله فاطر السماوات والأرض جاعل الملائكة رسلا أولي أجنحة مثنى وثلاث ورباع يزيد في الخلق ما يشاء إن الله على كل شيء قدير. ما يفتح الله للناس من رحمة فلا ممسك لها وما يمسك فلا مرسل له من بعده وهو العزيز الحكيم. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدًا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته وعنا معهم برحمتك وفضلك يا أرحم الراحمين ويا أكرم الأكرمين. All praise belong to Allah, Lord of the worlds. I bear witness that there is no deity except Allah. He has no partners, no offspring, no spouse. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. And I ask Allah to shower his peace, blessings, and mercy upon our dear and beloved Prophet Muhammad, his family, companions, followers, and upon us through his mercy and grace. Ameen. Dear brothers and sisters, we are in the month of Dhul Qa'dah. The month of Dhul Qa'dah comes after Shawwal. It is the 11th month in the Hijri calendar, similar to November in the Gregorian. And it is a special month because Allah made it special. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ عِدَّةَ الشُّهُورِ عِندَ اللَّهِ 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. The count of months, according to Allah, the day He created the heavens and the earth, are 12. 4 of them are the sacred months. منها 4 حرم. These 4 months, it is important for us to know what they are. One of them is by itself, Rajab. And then we have 3 consecutive. This is the first one in the consecutive 3 more remaining months. Dhul Qa'dah. The one after it is Dhul Hijjah. And the one after it is Al-Muharram. These are the 4 sacred months in the Quran. It is upon us as Muslim adults to learn that and to help our children remember that. Make activities where you learn the months, you color them, you put them on your refrigerator, whatever need be for you, at least as a first step to identify those months. And then learn why Allah made them sacred and in what regards. These are the months of Al-Hajj, one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the beautiful example of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. And in his story there are many lessons to learn, talking about Hajj and before Hajj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ. When Allah tested Ibrahim with huge tests, and he completed and passed all of them. Some of these tests, as mentioned in the last khutbah, happen to be in the ancient area of Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. And this is where Sayyidina Ibrahim is from, an area the Turks call Urfa or Urfa. And Ibrahim alayhi salam was a young boy, grew up in a household that was polytheists, or his father was an idol worshipper. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him. He also had a tyrant of his time. And Allah tested him to stand and speak truth to power, as a young teenager perhaps. And he also was tested within his household, where his father completely defied his da'wah, his call. He had an enemy within his own household, someone who was an adversary to his own call, his own way of life, which is the true guided by Allah way of life. And he had this struggle. But within this struggle, we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recording all the communications that are necessary for us to learn about this particular story in the dialogue that took place between Ibrahim alayhi salam and his father, who was a non-Muslim, not just an ordinary non-Muslim, but someone who was an adversary to Ibrahim. And throughout the Quran, we will see Ibrahim alayhi salam speaking to his father with the utmost respect. Ya abati, inni akhafu an yamassaka adhabun min ar-Rahman. Ya abati, inni qad ja'ani min al-ilmi ma lam ya'tik. Ya abati, la ta'budi ash-shaytan. يا أبت لم تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا. Ibrahim alayhi salam spoke to his father with the utmost respect. Mind you, his father was not a Muslim, and not just not a Muslim, but he was someone who completely defied and disliked the da'wah and way of life of Ibrahim. But that teaches us that no matter what the faith of our parents are, no matter what they do, we must always treat them with respect. Let alone if they are of the same faith. Let alone if they are not defying the orders of Allah. Let alone if they are telling you to do good. It is incredibly important for us to learn that. Today, we see many youngsters that don't respect their parents. We see many older young professionals that don't show the ample and needed respect and necessary respect to their parents. It is incredibly important that we start showing that before our children start showing us this respect. When Ibrahim's father responded to him by saying, لَإِن لَمْ تَنْتَهِ لَأَرْجُمَنَّكَ. You do not stop your da'wah. You do not stop your call to worshiping only God, one Allah. Then I will stone you. وَهْجُرْنِي مَلِيًّا. And he ostracized him. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam's response, and this is where we need to learn. قال سلام عليك. قال سلام عليك. He said, salam be upon you. He said, peace be upon you. سأستغفر لك ربي. I will seek forgiveness for you from my Lord. This is the response of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And he continued to make dua for his father until Allah sent revelations to him telling him not to do that. وما كان استغفار إبراهيم لأبيه إلا عن موعدة وعدها إياه فلما تبين له أنه عدو لله تبرأ منه إن إبراهيم لأواه حليم. This is the character of a true righteous offspring. In order for us to learn about Ibrahim alayhi salam, we must implement these lessons that we brush by and we go by very swiftly, and we don't implement as much as we should. Parents, it is incredibly important for us to guide our offspring, our children. Let them know how to show respect. Let them know how to speak. Let them know how to handle themselves, how to behave. It is incredibly important for us to teach them what we have learned, the good that we have learned from our parents. Don't think because you come from the Middle East, everything there is inferior. That is incorrect. We come with a great, rich heritage. The good things bring with you. Enrich the culture here. And the things that are negative, leave them away. But we don't perceive everything that we have gained from our ancestors as negative. No. Things that are positive, we must implement and instill in our families and culture here. And things that are negative, we must leave alone and not bring with us. Ibrahim alayhi salam was tested in his own household, as I just explained. Then he became a refugee, and he left from the ancient Mesopotamia, Iraq, the area of Iraq today, and he went to the area of Madinatul Khalil, modern-day Palestine. May Allah give it liberty and prosperity. Ibrahim alayhi salam arrived into a nation that existed. He did not initiate or start a nation in Palestine. Palestine existed prior to Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam's arrival. And there Allah tested him another test. When you become a newcomer to a new town that exists with people, with families, with tribes, that is not an easy change in transition. Most of us have moved from one city to another. When you first go to another community, you barely know anyone, you may not know a single person. This is a test. Ibrahim alayhi salam obeyed the command of Allah. He accepted the decree of Allah that he was tested in his family, in the tyrant Namrud, and he left his hometown, migrated to Sham, and he lived in the area of Madinatul Khalil, which was named after him eventually. There Allah commanded him and instructed him to be extremely kind and generous to all those who are trafficking through, those who are moving by, passing by. Ibrahim alayhi salam, with his own personal wealth, with his own family, was there administering, caring for all those who are just traveling through. If we look at the map, that area, if anyone's going to Europe, Asia, Africa, that's the area they pass through. You can think of a mega rest area. And Ibrahim alayhi salam was responsible for feeding all those who are passing through, replenishing all of their food and drink and so forth. And we see that in the Quran. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the angels to give him the news of having an offspring after so many years of him being tested and passing the test by being patient, they came in human form. As soon as they arrived, they said salam. Qala salam. He responded back with salam. Another lesson that we should learn ourselves and teach to our children, that the greeting that Allah chose and made special for all of us is the greeting of salam. Don't you ever think any less of the official greeting of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Assalamu alaikum. Teach that to our children. Make that the number one and most special greeting in our households, between adults, between youngsters. When you see your own child, say Assalamu alaikum to them first thing in the morning. When you see your husband or wife, greet them with salam. Tahiyyatan min indillahi mubarakatan tayyibah. It is a greeting from Allah, a blessed and good one. Ibrahim alayhi salam, as soon as the angels who came in human form arrived into his home, فَجَاءَ بِعِجْلٍ سَمِينٍ, he immediately came with a roasted calf. The scholars say that these calves, it takes time to slaughter, to skin, to spice, to cook and prepare. So he immediately brought it. They said that he always had food being prepared for all those who are moving through the area where he lived. This is a test and a lesson for us, to be extremely generous to our guests, whether we know them or we don't. Whether they are close family members or someone who's a newcomer to the community, someone who's passing by, someone who's doing a weekend project in one of these companies. It is incredibly important for us, if we want to cultivate a positive culture, a good community, an even better community, is that we look and we see the person that's sitting next to us, someone who's praying next to us, ladies or men, and be able to identify them, say salam to them, not be too intrusive, but welcome them, offer any type of support and help to anyone who's in the community. Ibrahim alayhi salam did that with complete strangers. He didn't know them. We must learn them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested Sayyidina Ibrahim by postponing him enjoying an offspring so many years. And then Ibrahim alayhi salam was blessed with Ismail from Hajar alayhi salam. And this righteous family entirely were tested. This entire family was tested. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed them to go to an uncultivated valley. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed Ibrahim alayhi salam to leave his beloved wife and his newborn son Ismail and Hajar alayhim as-salam and come back and return back to Palestine. Before I move on from that particular moment in history, if we read the news, we will see certain laws passed in that area of Palestine. May Allah give it liberty and prosperity. And today on BBC, I was reading an article of the most important aspects of this latest law that was passed that completely strips the locals from any type of belonging to that area. And only one of a particular creed or a particular lineage is the one to make the decisions and the one that's a rightful owner of that land. While we are studying the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, it is important for us to tie it with reality and what is happening today, and understand something that most people don't pay close attention to, that Ibrahim alayhi salam wasn't the founder of Palestine. Ibrahim alayhi salam, as much as we love him and adore him and respect him, Ibrahim alayhi salam wasn't the one who founded that area, nor that nation. Ibrahim alayhi salam was an outsider from Mesopotamia who went and arrived and was welcomed into the area of Palestine. And he was a great, an amazing prophet of Allah Jalla wa Ala, but he was not the creator of that land nor that nation. It is very important for us, so when history is being written, that we understand how to engage in dialogue respectfully but sharp. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Al-Muslimu kayyisun fatin. It is incredibly important for us to learn them and to know them. Unlike what is happening today where things are switched, things are manipulated. Suddenly the people that welcomed Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, who actually lived before Sayyidina Israel, Ya'qub alayhi salam. He was the grandfather of Ya'qub. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam's son was Ismail, and the other son was Ishaq, and Ishaq's son was Ya'qub, and Ya'qub had 12 children, and from the 12 children they became the 12 tribes of Israel, because Ya'qub alayhi salam is known as Israel. Later, we see the manipulation in history. It is very important for us while we study the seerah of Ibrahim alayhi salam to be able to identify certain events that took place and be able to understand truths from falsehood. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to see truth as truth and follow it, and falsehood as falsehood and avoid it. Ibrahim alayhi salam is instructed and commanded by Allah Jalla wa Ala to go to an uncultivated valley. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا وَارْزُقْ أَهْلَهُ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ مَنْ آمَنَ مِنْهُمْ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ When Ibrahim said, "My Lord, make this a safe and peaceful town. رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا." There was no balad. There was no town. There were no buildings. There were no tribes. There were no people except his wife and young newborn. But this tells us to have foresight. We must not just look beneath our feet. We must look forward in advance. Ibrahim alayhi salam made dua for the future people that are going to be there. The future town that will be there. رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا وَارْزُقْ أَهْلَهُ. Ibrahim alayhi salam made dua for amn before rizq. Another hikmah. He asked Allah to bring peace and peace and safety to the town, prior to asking Allah to bring provisions and wealth. Which teaches us that if we can imagine, a person can live with millions of dollars, but if there is no peace, if there is no safety, if there is no security, that's not much of help. And a person can live in a tent, in a hut, but it's peaceful. Nobody's going to rob them. Nobody's going to kill them. There is security. That is priceless. And here we see that Ibrahim alayhi salam made dua, "Oh Allah, make this a safe town." And from his dua we must learn to always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this. Many of us take it for granted. Even though we see areas that were prosperous yesterday, and today, unfortunately and sadly, they are going through wars and calamities. We must not be comfortable and assume that this safety is just because we are smart or intelligent or because of our doings only. No, we must appreciate it, that it is a blessing from Allah. Allah says, reminding the people of Quraysh, and also in it is a reminder eternally for us. لِإِيلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ إِيلَافِهِمْ رِحْلَةَ الشِّتَاءِ وَالصَّيْفِ فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ الَّذِي أَطْعَمَهُم مِّن جُوعٍ وَآمَنَهُم مِّنْ خَوْفٍ. They must worship the Lord of this house, who has fed them of hunger or from hunger, and He has given them safety from insecurity. We must remember that as we are studying and learning the story of Ibrahim alayhi wa ala nabiyyina as-salatu was-salam. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه وتوبوا إليه. Ask Allah for forgiveness. May He forgive you. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. All praise belong to Allah. We ask Him to shower His peace, blessings, and mercy upon our dear and beloved Prophet Muhammad, his family, companions, followers, and upon us through His mercy and grace. Ameen.
Amen.
And I bear witness that there is no deity except Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is His servant and messenger. Dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the example of the family of Ibrahim for us to be inspired by. The patience and faith of Hajar alayhi salam should be an inspiration to all of our women and men. And the patience and perseverance of Ibrahim alayhi salam and absolute obedience to the command of Allah should be an inspiration for all of us to learn that Allah is testing us in this lifetime, and our tests do not compare to the tests that Ibrahim and Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam had gone through, and all the prophets of Allah. And we must learn to pass those tests by patience or being grateful if things are good. Do not assume if things are prosperous and good and easy for you that this is because Allah is pleased with you. Or if things are difficult for you that it is because Allah is displeased with you. That is incorrect. Ibrahim alayhi salam was the Khalil of Ar-Rahman. He was the most beloved near and dear to Allah. Allah was not displeased with him when he was thrown in the fire. Allah was not displeased with him when he had to stand alone in front of a tyrant. Allah was not displeased with him when he became a refugee. Allah was not displeased with him when he had to leave his family alone. Allah was not displeased with him when he commanded him at the age of over 100 to go and rebuild the Kaaba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests those who are near and dear to him. When Allah tests you, remember that this is an opportunity for you to excel, for you to ascend, for you to grow in Iman, for you to grow in good deeds and hasanat. How else are we going to earn good deeds except through putting effort? And this effort could be coming through being patient, or by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving us, and we must recognize that this is a test, so we must give generously. This is incredibly important. فَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانُ إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَّمَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمَنِ وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَنِ كَلَّا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانُ إِذَا ابْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ. Mankind, when his Lord tests him, فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَّمَهُ, by giving him and nurturing him with luxuries and provisions. فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمَنِ. This human being, with our limited understanding, with our very limited and short foresight, we assume that Allah has been extremely generous to me, He's been kind to me because He's very pleased with me. وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ. And when Allah tests him, again human beings, when Allah tests us, فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ, Allah makes their provisions less. فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَ. Then this human being says, my Lord has dishonored me. My Lord has given me less. My Lord is displeased with me, in other words. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to both interpretations as kalla. This is incorrect. No. The first one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives dunya to whom He's happy with and pleased with, and whom He's not pleased with. But He only gives deen to whom He's pleased with. This is a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives it to anyone. Allah responded in the dua of Sayyidina Ibrahim, قَالَ وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَأُمَتِّعُهُ قَلِيلًا. Even if someone is defiantly disbelieving, I will give them. But this giving is very little in comparison to akhirah. Brothers and sisters, these are the months of Hajj. Hajj is not just wrapping 2 white towels and moving around the Kaaba. Hajj is more than that. Hajj is the lessons that we learn from Ibrahim alayhi salam. Hajj is equality. Hajj is remembrance that this dunya is moving very swiftly and that the akhirah is eternal. Hajj is a reminder that we all will be wrapped in coffin. And we all will be stripped from all of our luxuries and expensive watches and cars and homes. Hajj is a reminder that we will go before Allah Jalla wa Ala, all of us gathered on the Day of Judgment, similar to the pilgrims gathered in Arafat and other places. Hajj is a reminder for us to repent to Allah Jalla wa Ala. Every Friday is a reminder for us to come back to Allah. Every prayer is a reminder for us to turn back to Allah and repent. Every Hajj season is a reminder for us to turn back to Allah. Allah says, فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Run and flee towards Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. Protect yourselves and your families from a fire. وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ. Its fuel is man and stones. Brothers and sisters, let this time of year, in this sacred month of Dhul Qa'dah, remind us to turn back to Allah. All of us must ponder and reflect individually, between ourselves at this moment and beyond, and Allah Jalla wa Ala, and think, what is it, Ya Allah, that I need to improve upon? Ya Allah, I promise to improve upon this or that, and make this promise between ourselves and Allah Jalla wa Ala. Make this day, make this month a means for us to improve. Let us make our tawbah before it is too late. Let us continue to repent to Allah and ask and seek His forgiveness and change our ways. If we stay the same and don't improve on becoming closer towards Allah Jalla wa Ala by implementing the traditions and teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, not only in our rituals, but in our daily affairs, in our households, in our homes, in our businesses, in the street, out in the business, out when we shop, everywhere we go, it is incredibly important for us to implement the principles of our faith. We must live Islam, not just preach it. We must show it in our communities, as Ibrahim alayhi salam welcomed strangers when they came into his town. We must be so kind to our community members and newcomers when they come. It is very important for us to learn from the example of Ibrahim and Ismail alayhim as-salam, as father and son had an amazing and respectful relationship. Parents must learn how to raise their children and learn from all the different resources that are good around you, and the examples of Ibrahim alayhi salam and other beautiful examples. And children, we must learn how to respond back like Ibrahim responded to his father in the most beautiful of ways, despite him being on a different faith and defiant to his path. And we must learn how Ismail alayhi salam responded back to his father, Ya abati fa'al ma tu'mar. Perhaps in the next khutbah or so we will talk more about them and learn more from their example, as all of this leads towards the Hajj ritual and many lessons that we must learn from it. Brothers and sisters, if you have not performed Hajj and Allah has given you the physical and financial abilities, please do so before it is too late. Oftentimes I get a young man or woman that come to me and say, my mother or father passed away, they did not perform Hajj. Can I perform it on their behalf? And the answer obviously is yes, if you have performed your own Hajj. But instead of someone else doing the Hajj for you, while you have your own 2 feet and your own wealth, you might as well spend it on obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a forgotten ritual that we usually leave till the end. So we assume we're going to live 70 or 60 or however long. This is incorrect. We don't know how long we're going to live. We must do it when we're young and healthy, as I personally advise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us our worship. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive our shortcomings. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us and have us see truth as truth and help us follow it. And help us see falsehood as falsehood and help us avoid it. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala guide our hearts with His Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide our moral compass to always see and speak the truth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us always stand for what is right. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and guide our children towards the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May He help us be righteous offspring towards our parents. And may He help us be righteous parents towards our offspring. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala make the most beautiful and prime example in our lives, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sahbihi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us navigate the Quran and learn from its many blessings. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala not make us people who do not read the Quran or do not learn or implement the Quran. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala help and make beloved to our hearts the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Allahumma habbib ilayna al-iman wa zayyinhu fi qulubina wa karrih ilayna al-kufra wal-fusuq wal-isyan waj'alna min al-rashidin. Allahumma ya farij al-ham ويا كاشف الغم اللهم فرج هم المهمومين ونفس كرب المكروبين يا رحمن الدنيا والآخرة ورحيمهما ارحمنا وارحم ضعفاؤنا اللهم ارحمنا وارحم ضعفاءنا وارحم مستضعفينا اللهم ارحمنا برحمة من عندك تغنينا عن رحمة من سواك
وألف اللهم بين قلوب المسلمين. اللهم أصلح ذات بين المسلمين. اللهم احقن دماء المسلمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم ردنا والمسلمين إلى دينك ردا جميلا. اللهم احفظ بلاد المسلمين ومقدسات المسلمين وإيمان المسلمين وفطرة المسلمين وأسر المسلمين. اللهم احفظنا والمسلمين جميعا وردنا إلى دينك ردا جميلا. اللهم اشف مرضانا. اللهم اشف مرضانا. اللهم اشف مرضانا. اللهم عاف مبتلانا. اللهم أطفئ الفتن ما ظهر منها وما بطن. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters, just one or two quick announcements. One is that this masjid is only funded by your generous donations. Please continue to invest in your hereafter by investing and giving sadaqah generously. Before we are not guaranteed for next Friday is going to come or not, or next Ramadan is going to come while we are living or not. So please give while you are able to give. Also, inshallah ta'ala, the first weekend of August, we have Sheikh Hussain Kamani. He is going to be honoring us with a weekend visit. He will be giving the khutbah and making an evening program on Friday and two long programs Saturday and Sunday. Mark your calendars, I believe it's the 4th and 5th of August. Short little cards are sitting outside as flyers. Please mark your calendars, come and learn about the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and learn some sacred knowledge on that weekend. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله.